Hello, this is Manuel with Tru-Sight Airsoft, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how to install our newest product, the Tru-Hop TDC kit for VSR-10. Okay, in this video, I'm going to assume that you know how to get this far, how to remove your hop-up chamber assembly from the main gun. If you don't, go ahead and pause this video, look one up on how to do that, and then come back. Also, I'm not going to cover a lot of the specific details on how to assemble and disassemble this unit. I'm going to assume you've done this before. If you haven't, this video will be a good reference. I'll try to touch on the key highlights, but if not, you may want to go and research that before jumping in. Okay, before we begin, you'll need a couple of things. You'll need the tools that you normally use for disassembling your hop-up chamber. In my specific case, I need just a screwdriver with two different size Phillips heads. I also attached a little magnet to my unit to help me with working with the little fasteners that come loose and go flying everywhere. So I recommend you do that. Not totally required, but that's what I use. The other thing that you'll need is a set of hand files. I recommend you get yourself a flat file and a round file. I bought a kit from Home Depot for about $6. It included 6 pieces, and it's been a really great hobby file kit. You don't need it. If you don't have it, you don't exactly need it for this install. You can get away with a piece of sandpaper, and I'll talk a little bit more on how to use the sandpaper, but the hand files are going to make your life a lot easier. So, all right, let's begin with the install. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take this down into its basic components. So I'll start by removing the slider arm. I'll grab this here and back this screw out and remove that piece. We'll just set that aside. Next, I'm going to remove this center screw right here. Okay, set that aside. Next, I'm going to remove these 2 screws on the slider arm. Set that aside. Okay, now this half of the slider arm can come out, so we'll just wiggle this out. You want to be gentle. We are talking about plastic parts here, so don't want to break them. Okay, after that, we can remove the 2 screws holding the clamshell together. I am going to switch now to a different size bit. These are, on my unit, they're a bit smaller. This is a Tokyo Marui hop-up chamber. So we'll remove that, and we'll remove this one. All right, carefully remove the top half. Okay, and then carefully remove the little pieces that are inside of the chamber. Get the arm out of the way. Let's get the barrel and bucking out of the way for now, and then let's get this guy out of the way. Be really careful with this part. This little piece here, I'm not sure if you can see that on the camera or not. This is spring-loaded and loose. I've had this come flying out on me before, so just be mindful of that. You don't want to lose that guy. It's hard to find. It's a little plunger and a spring that reside inside of the arm, so you just want to be careful not to lose that. And then lastly, remove your hop-up arm from the shell. Okay, so at this point, we're ready to begin the installation of the actual unit. So I'm gonna open this up and remove the pieces. So your kit should have come with 3 pieces. You should have the main carrier that's gonna hold everything together. It's going to have a sliding adjuster arm. This is what's going to apply hop. And then it should have this flat nub that will go up and down. This is what's going to make contact with the hop-up bucking. So we're going to leave these here for now. What we need to do first is make some modifications to the carrier itself to get a nice tight fit. Now, the great thing about this kit is you don't need to modify anything on your hop-up chamber. There's no modifications to this unit. You don't have to drill through your outer barrel. You don't have to glue anything. You don't have to make anything, any permanent modifications. If you don't like this kit, it can always be removed and go back to stock. So any changes we're going to make is going to be to the carrier itself. We're going to make 2 changes. These kits are manufactured to be a little out of spec for the pivot hole and for the side wing, and we did that on purpose because it's imperative that it has a tight fit with the hop-up chamber. This needs to be really snug so that everything stays put together and you don't get any variation shot to shot due to the part wiggling inside of the chamber. So that's where your files come in. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up this pivot hole so that it fits nice and snug. You can try the fitment test before installation to see how tight it is. It's likely not going to fit, and again, that was done by design. So in this case, I've already pre-sanded this unit, so you don't have to watch me do that, but I'm going to just demonstrate the motions. Essentially, you would want to get your round file, and you're going to want to sand equally on the inside of the pivot hole, and I recommend you remove a little bit of material at a time. So you want to do maybe 3 to 4 strokes per trial, and then try to fit it on the pivot hole until you get a nice snug fit. In this case, like I said, it's pre-sanded, so if you see this, it has a very snug fit. This part is not going to fall off. If you've gone too far in your sanding, there are ways that you could shim it. You might be able to use some paper or some glue to shim it, but again, it's best that you just go slow so you don't have to add material. So as I said, if you don't have these files, one thing you can do is you can take that sandpaper that I mentioned about, roll it up into a cylinder, and then sand on the inside. And for the flat part, same thing. So you want to do this test first. Once you have this set, you're going to repeat the sanding, and you're going to use your flat file to remove material from this side of the ledge. So where it says Tru-Hop TDC, this top part here, this is where you're removing material. And again, give it 3 to 4 strokes and then test fit with the mating side of the chamber. In this case, it should fit in snug. Like I said, mine is pre-sanded, but just to show you how that looks, it goes in nice and neat and it stays put. You don't want any wiggle. You don't want any movement. It stays in place. And that's when you know you have a fit. When it goes in snugly, not overly tight, it wants to be snug, but it should be able to be retained by itself. Okay. And if you don't have the flat file, again, that sandpaper, use the flat side of the sandpaper to file away here. This is made of plastic, so it's easy to work with. So now that we have this pre-fitted, that is basically the hardest part of this entire process, is just getting the right fitment for your unit. It should only take you about 10 minutes to sand both of these, if you, that's even considering taking your time and going slow. So it's not a complicated process at all. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to pre-assemble the unit. So the first thing you want to do is take your flat nub, and you'll notice that it's got some features here. It's going to be hard to see, 2 wings on both sides, a flat side, and then a rounded side. The rounded side is going to go in first into the carrier with the wings guiding its up and down motion. So we'll go ahead and do that. Put this in like this. And it was designed to have a very tight fit, so you might need to practice a few times, but it will go in, and you'll hear some clicks as it goes in. And next, you're going to take your slider arm and insert it like so. And you're ready to begin your installation. And just as a quick demonstration, the way this works is when you apply hop, your slider arm will move like in this motion, back and forth, and by moving it towards the nub, it will raise it like that. And then to reset it, just back this out and push it down. Now it's not spring loaded. You don't actually need a spring to reset this. During your testing, what will happen when you decrease hop, the shots are just going to naturally push up on the bucking and then push this back into place. It doesn't require a lot of force to reset, so the BBs will be able to do it. You should be able to go back to 0 within 2 to 3 shots. And that a spring isn't needed, and it keeps the design simple. So we'll start with this position. Have your nub all the way down and have the side arm all the way to what would be your right. Okay. So next, what we'll want to do is begin the general assembly. Put the carrier and pieces into the hop-up chamber. Okay. Next, we're gonna grab this piece and we're gonna put it in. I recommend just set it all the way to the back like this. We're going to adjust this before inserting this arm, but just to make your life easier, set it all the way to the back. Next, your barrel and bucking are going to go in. So work that into position. Make sure you have the tabs aligned and everything is properly aligned. Personally, here's where I would take some time to make sure everything's perpendicular and aligned. I'm not going to go through that in this video, but this is a good opportunity to make sure everything is aligned the way it needs to be. You can also take this time to do some mods like adding the Teflon tape mod or the dental floss mod, or even anti-blow-by rings. If you don't know what those are, there's a lot of great videos that cover that, but they're basically simple mods that help with sealing here at these interfaces. So, and then the last part is we're gonna put in the anti-double feed gate. I always hate working with this thing. You wanna make sure your spring is aligned, and I have a little trick for reassembly. This is like the hardest part of the assembly. Okay, so that is all set. Now we're gonna put the top half on. And this will be the tricky part. I like to use a tool to compress the double feed gate as I lower this into position. It's a bit tricky to do on camera, but once you get everything, great. Everything's aligned. I think I got a little lucky here, but with practice, this will become easier. So next, hold your clamshell down and then insert the little retaining screws into their holes, and then we're going to screw them in. I like to give, I go counterclockwise for a couple turns till I hear a click, and then I drive them in. And that makes sure that the screw is properly aligned by doing that. So definitely do not want to cross thread these screws. That would not be good. Okay. They're both in. All right. At this point, what we're going to do is reset this and put it all the way to the far right. This is going to be the 0 hop position. You also want to take a look inside the window. Make sure your arm hasn't moved. Mine did a little bit, so this is where using your round file to reset it is helpful. Once you have it assembled here, you don't have to worry about that arm going around anywhere. It's pinned by the barrel. It might be hard to see in the video, but once you take a peek, you'll see in person, you'll want that hole in the slide arm to be to the far left. That's going to be the 0 hop position. So we'll go ahead and continue. Now we're going to put this arm. So again, move this far right. That's 0 hop. We're going to put this in here, and this shaft is going to go through the little hole in the slider arm. So we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, this is good, and then we'll align this so that these holes are aligned on both pieces. And then I'm going to swap my tool, add this, and I'm going to use my screws to go back in. And you'll want to keep track of which screws are which. I've done this so many times I can recognize them, but if you're doing this for the first time, you'll want to just be really organized with where you put your screws because it is easy to confuse them. So, okay. And some words of wisdom, these screws do not require a lot of torque. You want to be very gentle with them because it's easy to strip the plastic. This is plastic threading. You don't want to strip it. Just, I do very light pressure. They just need to be snug. They don't need to be torqued down. They'll be fine because it's plastic. Just be very gentle with them. I've stripped them before and that sucks. So don't do that. Okay. Last but not least is going to be this screw here that retains the slider arm. Okay. And at this point, again, I like to go snug. You don't have to crank on this. And same thing with this part. This is your slider arm that goes on the exterior of the gun. You're going to use this arm to adjust hop up. Okay, and we're done. That's it. This unit is now ready to go into the gun and it's ready to do some testing. I recommend starting off on 0 hop up in your testing and then increment the hop in small increments, in small adjustments. The reason is we've had to reduce the amount of adjustment there is, so this wing is taking up some of that space, and because of that we've tailored or tuned the slope of that ramp so that it gives you full adjustability in a smaller adjustment range. So that means every little incremental increase will apply more hop than before, so it's a lot more sensitive than before. So just start from 0, go slow, and add some hop as you go. This adjustment should give you a lot of hop. You should not need should not need more than that. If you do, feel free to reach out to us and we can make you a custom arm that will have a more aggressive profile so that you can get more hop up out of the unit. But until then, I hope this video has been informational. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to write them in the comments below or reach out to us at TruSightAirsoftUSA@gmail.com. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.